There's another one you don't want to hear. Frankly, neither do I.
1, 2, 3, set, go.
Hello and welcome to episode 126 of the Power Chord Hour podcast, the November 2022 rundown episode of the show. Hope you're doing great out there. Thanks for tuning into this one. I'm your host, Anthony Merchant, here with you with another rundown of a month, talking new music, music news, what was going on in my life, basically whatever I want to talk about. We're at the end of another month, and for whatever reason, that makes me entitled to just get on here and do a solo pod for you all and talk about the month. But quite a eventful month. I mean, this was really our first like really full back since getting back from Alaska. I mean, we started in October. I did 2 episodes, but they were solo, one of them being a monthly rundown. But this was the first month of like really getting back into doing a bunch of interviews, having guests on, and all that good stuff. Really getting things going. You know, I feel like those first 2 weeks were kind of nice. You know, shaking the rust off. Same with the radio show. It was like kind of shaking the rust off, getting back to it, just putting something out after, you know, not having anything out for 6 weeks. So, you know, getting all that done. But I mean, wow, what a, you know, I got to say, I'm quite happy with the guests that we really started things back up on after the trip. And I mean, it's funny too, because when I got back, there was a minute there where I was really looking for guests. Like I was emailing people, hitting people up. You know, anyone I could think of that either had stuff coming up or, you know, people who have like recently been like, hey, I have so-and-so and I would love to promote that, you know, later on. And, yeah, for whatever reason, couldn't find anyone for a while. And then I hit a struck gold with guests. I feel like we had some really strong guests this month. And, I mean, I feel like the first one we got to talk about, if I haven't already talked about enough, but I mean, Greg Graffin being on the show this month was just absolutely insane. Actually, he's how we opened the month, and that was just, I mean, it was absolutely crazy. I mean, I don't want to talk about it forever because I feel like ever since doing it, I feel like I talk about it on both here and the radio show. But I mean, it's huge. Like, you know what I mean? I'm a huge Bad Religion fan. I've been reading his books since high school. Like, you know, to get to interview him and talk Bad Religion and his books and, you know, just everything was just totally insane. One of those ones that sit up there like, oh my God, like I still can't believe he was on here. I mean, people still seem to ask me like, how did you get him? Like that seems to be people's questions. Both, I mean, people like in the podcast radio world and also just like people who know I have him on. It's like, how the hell did you get Greg Graffin on? I guess they don't think old Anthony has that kind of pull, which I didn't think I did either. That's the thing I think I've told everyone is when I reached out to get him on the show, I mean, I was not expecting to get him. You know, sometimes you'll, with guests, I try to be realistic. I mean, I can kind of tell, you know, the size like of person who I can probably get on the show or who I can try. You know, I mean, also you kind of look at like who's promoting something, you know, is there a reason they'd come on your show? But, you know, I mean, realistically, there's obviously people who are a little more unobtainable or seem like it. But I mean, I guess at the same time, it really is true. You just always got to ask because I ended up asking and, you know, I mean, we probably did like, that was the only bummer. He was doing a little press tour. So, I mean, we only did like 25 minutes, but I mean, you know, that's such a, I don't even want to say it like that because it sounds like I'm complaining. Getting to talk to the man for like any amount of time was just so amazing. And yeah, I mean, definitely not expecting that when I got a hold of him, but it's like, yeah, he's doing a little press tour, you know, give you like 20-30 minutes, like, you know, does that work? And then we got everything going. And then last minute, though, we did have a change up, but I would not let anything get in the way because originally it was at 3:30 Eastern on, I don't know, whenever we did it. I remember it was a Thursday. But anyways, the publicist didn't realize what side of the country he was on that day. So actually, we would be doing it 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. So it ended up jumping me. I thought I was getting ready for the interview for 3:30, and then it got jumped to 6:30. But I didn't care. I would make sure it happened no matter what. I would cancel any. I didn't say those exact words, but I basically said that even like booking the interview and everything. Like once they're like, oh, we think he may have some slots and stuff. I'm just like, listen, like I'll drop things to do this, like including for that size amount. It's not like I need to carve out like 3 hours of my day. Like that's pretty short enough where it's like, listen, just let me know when Greg can do it. It's like I will carve out 20 minutes of my day. Totally cool. That is worth doing. And yeah, I mean, so cool to talk to him. And I've really been enjoying. If you've not checked out his new book, Punk Paradox, really good. I'm still going back through and reading in chronological order again, because I started like I probably read like the first 5 chapters. I got in advance of it when I was interviewing him, and I read like the first 5 chapters and then started bouncing around a little bit so I could ask him different questions in the interview. But like, I don't know, it's kind of funny when someone puts a book out, it's kind of weird with questions if you haven't read the entire book, because there's certain things that may actually be in the book, and a lot of people don't want to give it away. So sometimes you'll interview, Greg really wasn't this way, and I don't think we ever hit any of those patches where like I asked him a question and he's like, well, you know, your listeners will have to read the book, like nothing like that, but like that can definitely happen. And for some reason, well, not for some reason, it can happen. So I get in my head with that, and you know, I try to think ahead of time. It's like, you know, try not to ask questions that are answered in the book. You know what I mean? You can ask questions about the book, but don't just ask questions where literally, had I read, you know, chapter 9, had I gotten, you know, 10 pages further than I would get my answer. So, you know, thankfully that didn't happen, but I started jumping around and everything before the interview, but I'm back to reading it in a chronological order, and it's really good. I mean, I like the memoir side, you know, like I told him, I mean, normally he's talking, you know, science and religion and politics and stuff in his books, and with this one, it's just, you know, it's a memoir. I mean, hearing about his life and Bad Religion and everything else. I mean, there's some really funny stories in it too. I mean, Greg has a great personality. I mean, I talked about it, I believe, on the podcast, but I mean, when I got on the phone with him, like, I was amazed he knew where I live. Like, people just don't tend to know where Jamestown is. And I mean, it's nothing against them. You know, I mean, we're a city, but we're a smaller size city. And, you know, people also hear New York and think New York City. And it's like, oh no, like, you know, we're near Buffalo. But the fact that he knew it, he even referenced the Desilu Bridge and everything, it was, I got a kick out of it, you know. But it is true. I mean, when you get up kind of his way, he lives kind of towards Ithaca. So like when you get towards that side of New York, it is true. When you start coming this way on 86 or whatever interstate, you start heading west, you will start seeing signs for Jamestown. And I forgot about that. But at the same time, I mean, he's right. Anytime he goes west, he basically has to drive through Jamestown, which is pretty neat. Again, it's kind of, I don't know, it's those silly things. But I got to tell you, I mean, the Desilu Bridge, I drive over it quite a bit. And every time now, I think of Greg Graffin. So more than likely for the rest of my life, anytime I drive over the bridge that's named after, you know, Lucille Ball and Desi, I'm going to be thinking of the singer of Bad Religion. You know, that only makes sense, I would say. So, yeah, really, really cool getting to talk to him. I mean, if you haven't listened to that one, I mean, what are you doing? Pause this and go listen to that episode. I mean, that is, you know, just totally. But again, I mean, that there really is something to be said about just asking. I mean, John Doe was kind of that way. I hit up John Doe's publicist in 2020 for doing an interview for Alphabet Land and never heard anything back, and then hit his publicist up again this year, and lo and behold, one of my all-time favorite interviews I got. So sometimes you just got to ask, and I guess sometimes you got to ask a couple years later, and that happens. But I mean, I was writing out a list the other day, actually trying to think of all the guests I've had on this year, because like normally, you know, they're a little spread out. If you look at the first 2 years of the podcast, you know, we have a guest, and then it might be like a solo episode. Maybe I don't even have an episode for a week or two. Whereas I've been pretty consistent on these of having a guest, unless, you know, it's the monthly rundown, but basically 3 guests a month and then the monthly rundown at the end. And, you know, actually writing them out, I'm like, oh my God, like getting so in like this person and some of them being people who, you know, not even reaching out long ago, but like were just people I would think of earlier on in, you know, doing the show, where I'm like, oh, it'd be really cool to have so-and-so on. And then I look, I'm like, oh, I had him on this year. Pretty neat. So I got to say, I'm happy with that. But I mean, Greg, he sits up there as, yeah, I mean, that one was a total honor, and that has to be one of the coolest, people to be able to say that I've had on the show. But also, I mean, punk rock legends, Blake Dahlia, so fun. And actually, you probably didn't get to see it because StreamYard, we had some, I'm going to say technical difficulties, but I realized later I was on the wrong account. So that's why it wouldn't record. We had some issues with the video, so we couldn't record it. So you didn't see, you can only hear the interview with Blake, but in it, anyways, if you ever look, you can look at any of the other ones I have on our on the Power Chord Hour YouTube page. Like it'll say our names underneath, say Anthony Merchant under me, and then whoever I'm talking to. And on Blags, I promise you, I don't write those. You write yours before you get in the like StreamYard chat or whatever. And his said Black Dahlia rock legend, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. He was so much fun. It was such a nice mix because you did get the chance to talk to Black Dahlia, and he still kind of had that, that Blag humor and everything. He had a sense of humor and stuff, but like you could also tell like he wanted to talk about the new Ralph Champagne record, and like he liked getting into like songwriting and process of things, and like he would kind of, and I wasn't sure because at first it's like, though I did see some interviews with him, like, okay, like, no, he's kind of down to talk about this stuff. Because at first it's like, I don't know, like, you, not to discredit him, but like just knowing Blag and the Dwarves and everything, you're like, is this someone you should attempt to do just kind of how you handle the interview or what questions are right? Like, can I ask him more straightforward or like serious questions? Do you think he'll be more serious about those things? Will he want to get into serious stuff? But he was down. He was down to talk anything and everything. And he was another one just so much fun to talk to. And actually, I ended up interviewing him. That episode came out the week later. But I interviewed him the day before. I interviewed him on a Wednesday, and then Greg Graffin on a Thursday. So that was pretty neat to have like these two back-to-back, just punk rock legends. Epitaph, the Dwarves obviously aren't Epitaph anymore, but Bad Religion are. And they both actually, knowing that I had them on, that's also how I opened the radio show for November. I played all Epitaph, and that was quite fun. I played lots of Bad Religion and lots of Dwarves and tons of others. I mean, I went through like all eras of Epitaph. I mean, and you can kind of guess what I'm going to play. I mean, when I say that, I don't mean that I played a bunch of like Falling in Reverse and stuff like that. Like, the definitely certain sounds of Epitaph that they kind of, some of the places they went later on, were a little questionable. No, not judging, because they still have great bands. But that is the thing, though. Sometimes, like, look at like with Epitaph, I know they've expanded their sounds throughout the years, and it's like sometimes I've seen people give them shit, but like to their credit, they never stop being a punk label. Like they might get other kinds of bands, post-hardcore and emo and stuff like on there, but like I don't think they ever really abandoned that initial. Like there's labels like. I think I talked about it actually on the record label Loyalty, I believe it was called. It was like 2 years ago, I did an episode on here, a solo one, talking like my favorite record labels. But like Vagrant Records, and they've went back to it now. Now it's like anniversary time, but like there's a while there where Vagrant Records seemed to like abandon everything that made them known. You know what I mean? Like including like the 2010s and stuff. Like they just revamped like the bands who they were signing sounded nothing like what you would think of for the Vagrant sound, and just. Like, even their website kind of, like, scrubbed, if I remember correctly, kind of scrubbed, like, the history of that label and everything. Like, just kind of abandoning the emo pop punk roots. And, Epitaph never really did that. Epitaph maybe branched out and got different kinds of bands, but they never really got rid of those, because, like, say, like, Hopeless. Like, Hopeless at some point stopped signing bands that sounded like Mustard Plug, and I mean, I didn't mind the direction that Hopeless went. I mean, I like really old school Hopeless, but they still put out really good stuff now. But Epitaph, I think, no matter what they were putting out, there was always, a Bad Religion record or a Pennywise record or some kind of punk band in there, even now. I mean, they obviously still like the Menzingers and stuff like that. Like, Brett and everyone over at Epitaph still know what they're doing with those signings, and Joyce Manor and a bunch of, I'm kind of pulling them off the top of my head. There's tons of great current bands on that roster, but really fun to put together a 4-hour playlist for the themed playlist. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out for 2023, not totally revamping the show, but kind of what I want to change, what I want to do and add and all that good stuff. And kind of trying to figure out with the themed playlist, because I got to tell you, when we started doing those last year, the show was still 2 hours. So the playlist, I just had to not just fill, it was still decent size, but I find like 30 songs. Now when I do a themed playlist, 4 hours, I'm fitting in like 60 plus songs, and it becomes like, it takes a while. And, a lot of times too, if I'm doing a themed playlist, say for a band, obviously I'm playing all their music, but like for something like, say, the Epitaph one, I played a lot of like Dwarves and Bad Religion to kind of, promote and tease the interviews. But like the other ones, I try to stick to like one song, like I was really trying not to like play, 4 songs off an album or something like that. So like really it becomes a challenge. Like I'm kind of like figuring out if I want to take a break from doing the themed playlists, or maybe even just make it like, do it for like half the show or something. Sometimes doing the 4 hours is nothing, but sometimes that's a lot of music to have to compile and get around. But I mean, this show does it keeps me busy doing the pod and the radio show, because I mean, even I forget that sometimes, that on top of doing the interviews, then I say I do one interview, but I have to get it ready in 2 ways. I got to get ready a 4-hour radio show with it, so I get the interview and then put all the music and stuff around it, and then also the podcast. So I'm producing 2 different Power Chord hours each week. And sometimes when I go, Jesus, I always feel like I'm busy, then I remember I am always kind of doing stuff like this. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of weird when you do, I'm sure anyone who does podcasts and things like this, same with the radio show is always kind of like that, where like, it's kind of odd, because like I feel like people who don't do it may not realize it, but it's like you could be working on this at all times. Like I might just be sitting down on my computer, like on iTunes, making playlists. You know what I mean? Like just getting together a 4-hour playlist. Like, it may just sound like I'm listening to music, or the weird thing is it sounds like I'm listening to music, but like listening for 30 seconds and listening to another song, listening for 30 seconds and listening to another song, like a lot of that going on. But I mean, there's always something. I mean, coming up with themed playlists, just coming up with a playlist in general, interviews, just getting things around. Like you'll always, even when you feel like you're caught up, like even right now, honestly, like with guests, I mean, I really got caught up in November pretty early on. I mean, Greg and Bleg were 2 like right next to each other. And then I interviewed the Eves like a week later. So like, I basically had all November guests recorded within like, I think like 7 days of each other. Basically, those interviews were done. So, like I was caught up then, but now I'm waiting to hear back from a few people, and a few things have fallen through. So I'm still trying to figure out December here. We do have our first guest for December, which I just recorded that last night at a nice 10 o'clock late night interview. One of the latest ones I think I've ever done, but with Chris Wren of Bridge 9 Records, which that was another really cool one, because it's like I was thinking about for I interviewed, and I'm like, I mean, damn, I've been buying records that Bridge 9 have put out since I think I figured out 2008 would have been the first my first Bridge 9 release. And that would have been Newfound Glory's Tip of the Iceberg, with the split that they did with the International Superheroes of Hardcore, which is them as well. So it's kind of a split with themselves. But I remember that being, unless there's something earlier, and I don't think there is, that was my first Bridge 9 release. I remember buying that up in Edinburgh, PA, when I saw Newfound Glory and Punchline play up in the college there. Really, really good show. And the Space Pimps played too, who are now called Eternal Boy. At the time were called Space Pimps. But I missed them, sadly, which bummed me out, because then I heard them later. I'm like, oh yeah, this band's really rad. But they'll be playing, actually, I'm really stoked for it. I'll be going to Cleveland this coming weekend, depending on where you're listening to this, December 4th. Up in Cleveland, Alistair will be up there playing Last Stop Suburbia front to back, and Low Morale. We've had Justin Vaughn, their singer, on the show, and he's a great dude. They're playing, and so's Eternal Boy. So a great pop punk show. I'm really, really looking forward to that. I got my ticket, and I think that one might sell out. And I haven't been. They're playing the Foundry, which I've only been to the Foundry once, but it was like a decade ago. And it was a good show. I saw Hawthorne Heights there. And funny enough, actually, I saw Hawthorne Heights, and I saw Bobby Vaughn, who of the Promise Hero, or formerly of the Promise Hero. And we've had him on the show a couple times, and always a good dude. But that's Justin's brother. So now I'm going to see, I saw his brother play there with Hawthorne Heights almost 10 years ago. And now I'm going to see him play with Alistair about 10 years later at the Foundry. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I think it's going to be a really good show. And actually, I haven't seen Alistair since 2014. That was the last time I saw them, when they played Pittsburgh. And really, it's hard. I just have too much stuff going on, and financially too. I mean, driving up there and getting tickets for both shows, because Alistair's playing Pittsburgh the night before too, and I was very tempted to hit both. But I'm just like, yeah, probably not the best time to do that right now. And we got the holidays coming up and everything, so I'm like, yeah, I probably should save my money. But, Alistair doesn't play much, so it's like at the same time, I'm trying to justify it to myself, because I'm like, at the same time, like, last time I played Pittsburgh, 2014, like, they're probably not going to play again till, like, 2034, so, like, it might be a thing to do. But I will definitely be at that Cleveland show, and I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, guess this month also the Eves. That was another really fun one. I've been listening to their new album quite a bit, and I'm very stoked because I got a lot of people. You know, I mean, the Eves aren't like a super well known band, though. I think they're going to be. This new album's their sophomore record that we talked about, and I did get a lot of people telling me like, wow, like this band's amazing. Like, so people are getting turned on to them through that episode, which makes me very happy because that's the whole. I mean, really, that's the whole thing I'm trying to do here. You know, since the beginning, just even when we were just a radio show. I mean, the whole point was like you tuned into the radio show, and hopefully I played you something you've never heard before and go, oh damn, like I just found a new favorite band. So for people to say that, but they're so good. I mean, really, their new album will probably. I haven't written out my top 10 of the year like out on paper yet, but like I see that one maybe creeping in on there. I mean, I know it's later in the year, but they just released it this month, and I could see it definitely being on there. So don't be surprised if you hear me talk about Lately I Don't Have a God and other obvious epiphanies on upcoming whenever. It'll be fast. I'm sure it'll be only like 3-4 weeks from now. I'll be talking about my favorite albums of the year, and I could see that one on there. But I had such a good time talking to Chris and Adam. I mean, that album, not only do the songs sound amazing, but sonically they just did an insane job on it. Like, it sonically sounds like this really high budget production of like, you know, recorded in this really, which it was recorded in a really nice studio in Buffalo, but like, you know, just really it sounds like something from a band who like has major label money behind them, basically. You know, like when a band gets on a major and all of a sudden their production like gets, you know, like steps up a lot. I mean, it sounds like that. It sounds amazing. A great testament of what's going on in the Buffalo scene up there. And I was excited too because they hadn't, I think they probably hadn't announced it yet. I assume they knew they were doing it when I talked to them, but they'll be doing a record release show up at Mohawk Place on January 20th. Which I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to try to get to that one. And I've been to shows this year, but like I still haven't been like, I mean, like back in the old days. I mean, I was going to shows so goddamn much, and I still haven't gotten back to that. You know, I've went to quite a few. You know what? No, I don't even want to say quite a few shows this year. I've been to some shows, probably more than I realize. But yeah, not enough. I wish I could get back to, and maybe I slowly will. But it's just finances, man, fucking money. But I would love to get back to like, you know, just like every week either being in Buffalo, Pittsburgh, or Cleveland, up seeing a show. I mean, that is still to this day. I mean, some of the most fun I've probably had in my life is just doing shit like that. You know, a night of going up and, you know, seeing a band, hitting some record stores, eating some shitty food somewhere afterwards. Always a good time. So I'm looking forward to that Cleveland one, and hopefully hanging with that's a double threat there. I'm gonna have to try to get a picture with Tim Rogner of Alistair and Justin Vaughn of Low Morale. We'll have to get like a nice little. We'll get the trifecta there. The two guests of Power Chord Hour. I know two other recent guests, or not so recent actually. Neither have been on for over a year. But two great guests of the show and friends of the show, Jeff Cadill of Game Face and Heath Saraceno of Midtown and Senses Fail, just did they did a show in New Jersey, I believe it was, like an acoustic show with a couple of, I can't remember who else was on the lineup, but it was a really good lineup and looked really cool. I would love to be there had it not been so far away. But again, I gotta get back to that. I gotta abandon all responsibilities and just go to every show that I want to go to. And drive, even if it's 7 hours away in Jersey, like I just got to say fuck it and go do it. You know, you just got to do stuff like that. But yeah, that was really fun talking to the Eves, getting back to guests. I mean, really fun talking to them. And Chris Wren from Bridge 9. Yeah, that was really cool last night. We did a video of, which that I'll put up when the interview comes out, and that'll be out next week. That'll be our next episode of Chris Wren. And if you want to watch the video of that, if you want a video interview, I will post that on our YouTube page. I know it's hit or miss. Not all the interviews I do on here are via StreamYard. And, you know, if someone's also, if we're getting a bad reception and it gets really glitchy and cutting in and out, then it's like, I don't know, maybe one of these days I'll take the time and try to edit the video. But, you know, I also don't put the video up if it's really laggy and stuff. I've had a couple of them where I did really clean up the audio and everything to put it in the podcast. And it was like, it just made no sense to try to, it just would have been a bunch of jump cuts on the video. So I was just like, forget it. But this one will definitely be up there. And he just opened. The Bridge 9 just put a record store, a brand new record store in Beverly, Massachusetts. And I guess it's connected to their warehouse if I'm remembering it correctly. But it's only been open I think a couple weeks. He might have said 3 weeks, I want to say. But that's when he was doing it from. So I was talking to him, and he had this beautiful record store behind him, and it was really cool. Having too, because he had where he was sitting, a bunch of records behind him on the wall, and I'm talking to him, and I'm also trying to make out which each record was. I saw Jimmy Eat World's Clarity on the wall, Ramones' Road to Ruin, Minor Threat. There are a couple, one of the off records. I knew it was off, but I couldn't tell which record. Maybe the new one. And then some Bridge 9, some Bridge 9 classics and stuff up there. But that record store looks really dope. I gotta make my way up there sometime. But that was really cool to get to talk to him. I mean, that again, Bridge 9's an iconic hardcore punk label, and neat to talk to someone too. I always like talking to someone who's been at it a while and can talk about how things have changed and also stayed the same throughout the years, and get into we got into mail order and stuff a decent amount, and just the difference of having a web store now versus when you would people would send you $1, you'd send them a catalog, and you'd write messages to each other, you'd make friends through mail order and stuff. It was really cool to talk about all that stuff. Mike Park is probably someone I should have on to talk mail order sometime. I feel like me and Mike Park could talk mail order forever. But Chris was really cool. That'll be out next week on the show, so I'm looking forward to that. And that'll be a really good time. I know it's going to be a good time because I already did the interview, and I promise you, it's a good interview. Talk a lot about Bridge 9, the history, and again, just what he's doing now, the new record store, just tons of stuff. We talked for an hour, so there's a lot in there to unpack. So I think you will enjoy that one, and that'll be coming soon. And also this Friday on the radio show, you're talking about themed playlists, because Jesus, we're already going into December here. I'm gonna be doing all 80s, all the music I'm spinning on the radio show this Friday night, 8 to midnight Eastern. Hint, hint, on 107.9 WRFA. I got to make it a plug. All 80s, nothing, and not a specific genre, just 80s music. New wave, punk, hardcore, whatever I want in there. I've basically, I got to do a few finishing touches, but I have the playlist ready, and I feel like it's a nice mix of things, and even. I wouldn't say straight up poppy, but a few songs maybe a little poppier than you'd normally hear, and also a few heavier songs on there, like Iron Maiden. I don't really play Maiden much on the Power Chord Hour. I like them. I definitely like them, as you can probably also see in the interviews, because I have a Number of the Beast, whatever the hell they are. It's it's not a poster, but it's that cloth material. And I've had it forever. I love it because it's Eddie with Satan's decapitated head in his hand, and I've had that since high school, and it goes up many places. I think the best place it was though was in my apartment in Minneapolis. I had it hung up over my sink, over the kitchen sink. So when I was washing dishes, there's just Satan's decapitated head. Every time I'd look up, I'd just see Satan's bloody decapitated head. But playing some Iron Maiden, different stuff that I don't always get to play. So I think that's going to be a really fun one. I'm looking forward to that. But I mean, November, I stayed busy with the show, doing interviews and getting stuff ready. I really, and just kind of coming up, again, I'm thinking of 2023, what I want to do with the radio show, what I want to do with the podcast. And also thinking a lot again, earlier this year, I was thinking about putting on a concert. And I'm kind of thinking about it again. I have some ideas in mind, and some bands in the area and up in Buffalo and stuff, where I'm I could probably get them down here. I got it. I've never put a show on. I'm trying to figure it out. And the thing I keep telling people is just how to do it and just not lose a ton of money. In no way, shape, or form do I think I'm putting on a punk show around here and I'm going to make a bunch of money or even make my money back even. I'm not even talking about breaking even. I'm just trying to do this and not lose a bunch of money. I mean, and at the same time, it's if I get some bands I really love to come play, in a venue down the street from where I live, it's that's definitely worth something to me. So I'm going to keep working on that more. And thankfully I have some really cool people in the area who are kind of helping me out and giving me pointers and stuff like that, which is really nice and definitely appreciated. So who knows, there might be a Power Chord Hour, some kind of Power Chord Hour related concert in 2023. I would love to do that. So who knows, if you're near the Jamestown area, definitely something to keep your eye on. Hopefully we do something. But I have bands, I have ideas. Now I have to execute them. Not like execute them, I guess, but you know what I mean. I have to execute the idea. Oh, that didn't sound great. But yeah. So I would love to do a concert. Hopefully we get that done. And yeah, I have some really cool bands in mind. I've had a couple who have already told me they'd be down. Just give them more of a idea once I have it. But yeah. So yeah, November. Been staying busy, and including with the show, and just really trying to running around here, really trying to figure out December. I mean, we got Chris to kick it off, and I'm trying to figure out the rest of it. But I will worry about that. I won't worry you all with that side of things. I will just bring you some good guests, and I'm sure either way we'll end the year very, very strongly on the show. This has been my 2022 has been my favorite year of the show. Like pre and post podcast, like not just the podcast, just in general, just doing the show. This has been the best year for it. I think I've had the best guests on. I've had the most fun. I mean, the radio show, doing it 4 goddamn hours, like just really stepping it up. And it's been really fun. So, genuinely thank you to everyone who listens to this, including these ones, because, I mean, listening to a solo rundown, you're not even listening to me talk to like Greg Graffin right now. You're just listening to me talking to a mic. So definitely appreciated. And we'll move on. We'll keep this one fairly short. And we're going to talk a little new music now, let you know what is out. I mean, I got to start again with the Eves. Lately, I Don't Have a God and Other Obvious Epiphanies. That thing is so good. One of my favorites of the year, probably going to end up on my top 10. If you've not listened to that record yet, go listen to it. I mean, it's indie rock. There's some punk rock in there. There's, alternative I know is very general. But, I don't know. It's not a boring record, and they have enough influences where they keep it interesting, I'd say. So definitely check that out, and go check out our interviews. The last episode before this one with Adam and Chris of the Eves. Really a great Buffalo band. Stay at Home Astronaut that my buddy Alex turned me on to. They're a Twin Cities band. They just put out their self-titled debut. And actually, I got to shout out my buddy Alex. It was the nicest thing. I got an email on my birthday earlier this month that someone gave me a gift on Bandcamp, and he gifted me their self-titled debut. And he's like, I think you'll like this. And he does. He knows me well, because I very much do like it. It is exactly the kind of music I enjoy. So, yeah, really, really good. I would go check that out and support them. I mean, they're a pretty new band from what I can tell, just kind of playing around the Twin Cities. One of those bands, if I was still living there, I would definitely be going and catching them live. Lip Stereo just put out a new one, Modern Mythology. We'll play something off that here in a second. Future Radio, we're getting into the holiday season. They just put out a new single, Another Christmas Song, which I'm sure will end up on the holiday episode of the radio show next month. Elephants and Stars just put out their new one, Last Chance Power Drive. Story of the Year just put out another new single off their upcoming record. The single's called Take the Ride. A new single from Fiddlar, which I'll play here for you in a second too, Taste the Money, which I gotta say, they put out a few singles since getting back together here earlier this year, and the other ones just didn't really do it for me, if I'm being completely honest. Really wasn't into the other two songs, and this one I like. It kind of has that Fiddlar sound, and also has Fiddlar, but also kind of a Joyce Manor sound to it as well, which, I mean, again, I'll play in a second, so you tell me what you think, but I get a little Joyce Manor in this, so you tell me. And the Vice Rags put out a new EP, Midnight Ride. Glade put out Don't Know What You're In Until You're Out. And Fake Names, which, great band who I've played a bunch on here, featuring Brian Baker and Dennis of Refused, and a couple other people too I'm totally blanking on. But basically like a little punk rock supergroup there, but really good band. They have a new album come out in 2023, and they put out a new single called Delete Myself, and that's what we'll kick it off with right now. Here's a new one from Fake Names. It is a new single, Delete Myself, right here on the November 2022 rundown of the Power Chord Hour podcast. Right here on the November 2022 rundown of the Power Chord Hour podcast, you just heard the latest single from Fiddlar. That was Taste the Money. Before that was Lip Stereo with Little Spaceships off their new album Modern Mythology. And opening up that block of music was a new single from Fake Names off their upcoming new record, I believe out March 2023. That was Delete Myself. All right, just a few little pieces of music news, then we'll close out this one for you. But Punk Rock Bowling for 2023 has been announced. This year, they got headliners, Bad Religion. I mean, talking all about Greg Graffin on this one. We got former now Power Chord Hour guest Bad Religion headlining, along with Rancid and Dropkick Murphys. Also, The Interrupters will be playing, Suicidal Tendencies, L7, The Damned, Face to Face, Me First and Gimme Gimmes, Fishbone, Cockney Rejects, GBH, The Slackers, Sloppy Seconds, Susie Moon, and many, many more. I mean, that always seems so much fun. It's going on May 26th through the 29th in Las Vegas. I mean, it's just like the Fest, which I'm sure you've heard me talk about on here. Another festival that very sad I've never been to, and I don't know how I've never been to. I mean, I know Las Vegas is a little further away, but I've still been to Vegas probably 4 or 5 times in my life. So I mean, not particularly. I guess I did talk about me going to Alaska too, driving to Alaska not long ago. So I mean, proximity is normally not a problem, but for every reason, I've never made it out to punk rock bowling, and I have considered it a couple times, but just when it just never really worked out. I think I missed it. Maybe the first time I went cross country, I think I might have just missed it by maybe more than a couple weeks, maybe like a month or so. But yeah, never going on when I'm out that way, and it really makes me sad because like that lineup is always good. It's like it's really there's this couple. You got the Fest. You got Riot Fest, which I've been to, but I've really only been to once, which is another one you'd think I would have hit more, but just have not. A lot of festivals besides Warped Tour though. I don't know how many I've like repeated. I've obviously been to like a lot of music festivals, but like Warped is like the only one I can think of that like went yearly. You know what I mean? Like went for like a run of 5 or 6 years of just going each year. Like I don't know that there are really other festivals that I've hit like that. But yeah, this would be one I'd love to hit. I mean, those are all obviously classic bands right there, and just stacked as always. I always like it because they have a nice mix of new and old. Because you definitely get like those, and you kind of get too like you get like the really old school kind of punk. You'll get like some old ska reggae. You'll get like even like I'm not like a big oi punk kind of guy, but like even into like old school oi punk and different stuff. Like they just do a bunch of different things. I always feel like that. That's a good time, and I'm sure if you're listening to this as well, probably some of those bands you yourself enjoy. So maybe you will be there May 26th through the 29th in Las Vegas. That'd be 2023, which kind of funny too. I've been on a Sloppy Seconds kick lately actually, and I hadn't listened to them in a while, and I don't know even. Like a couple weeks ago, just something got me to listen to Destroyed, which I hadn't listened to in a while. And I started listening to it, I'm like, oh my God, like I forgot just how great this is. Blackmail is probably my favorite Sloppy Seconds song, I gotta say. I forgot. I mean, some of the stuff probably hasn't aged amazingly. I mean, same with the Dwarves. I mean, I just had Black Dahlia on, like, not bands who aren't for everyone and can be a little abrasive, but I mean more in like the fun punk rock spirit. I mean, I don't feel like they ever mean any harm or anything. They're just they're just those classic like gonna kind of do it just to kind of shock, shocking just to shock. But I mean, at the same time though, it's just kind of like I talked with Blag. It's like in same Sloppy Seconds is you look at the lyrics and stuff and you read them and you're like, oh, it's funny and jokey, but it's like really very good with melody. I mean, as Ramones core too, like, I mean, those songs musically sound great, I mean, it's the same with the Dwarves. I mean, Blake Dahlia knows how to write a song. It's like, and he knows melody really well. It's just, it's the words he uses in those melody that, that like keep you from being like, radio friendly or mainstream or whatever. But that should be a really good time there. Who knows? Maybe next year I'll finally make it to punk rock bowling. Another cool one, not a festival, but just a one-off show, though I'm hoping they do more. But for So Long Astoria, which that thing is turning 20, and next year the Ataris with the So Long Astoria lineup are going to be doing a show in April 2023 in Los Angeles. They'll be playing that record front to back, which is totally crazy to think that it's been a decade, maybe almost a decade, because I almost want to say that tour was 2014. But for So Long Astoria, when they did this back in the last time, and I got to say, I mean, I know this is only one show, so it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, was it something to like bring up or whatever? But I'm like, I don't know. When I saw them, I got to say, if you're an Ataris fan, when they did that tour with the 4 of them, and actually also had Donald Spence of Versus the World playing a third guitar live, like the best show I saw in 2014. And like, I don't know, I think of that show every now and then, like it kind of pops in my head, and I like remember truly how good it was. So like, I mean, that's one of those ones where like, if you're an Ataris fan, I mean, obviously the band has went through many lineups, but like, if you're a fan of that album in that era, it is cool to see them all up there. It is really neat. And I mean, on top of it too, when you start thinking about it, with I'm blanking on names right now. I'll be honest, I'm blanking on names. But everyone minus John, their guitar player, I mean, also played on where the Blue Skies End Is Forever, lineup. They had a few different lead guitarists, but I mean, for like the quintessentials, like the quintessential years of the Ataris and like the material and the best records and stuff, I mean, that's basically the lineup, beyond even So Long Astoria. But I wish they'd do more. I've seen Chris say it seems pretty much one show and that's it. But I always hope they do more of that lineup. And I mean, I enjoy seeing the Ataris. They have great dudes even playing with them now. But I got to say, I mean, that was really cool to see that lineup, very special. And I mean, I wish they did more, because I remember back when they did this last time, I swear Chris talked about more where it's like, this may not be a thing we're doing, this lineup won't be playing like every month, but it's like you'll see us play festivals or do one-offs and stuff as it more, which, I mean, it took almost a decade to do something else, but I would love to see them do more. And that album too, I also, it's one of those things too, when that got announced, I threw on So Long Astoria, and just, unlike Sloppy Seconds, but I'd listened to So Long Astoria a lot more recent than I had Destroyed, but still, like, you put that on and you go, oh yeah, like, no wonder this album sold so many records. Like, that is a great pop punk record. But like, I think Chris Rowe is one of the best lyricists in pop punk. I mean, that dude, like, you listen to it and it's a pop punk record, but it's a pop punk record written by a guy who, like, I mean, he picked the producer for that one because he worked with Husker Du and Sugar. You know what I mean? Like, and you go look back and he's wearing like My Bloody Valentine and Velvet Underground t-shirts in their press photos. You know what I mean? It's like that. It's pop punk, but it's written by that guy. You know what I mean? Like, Chris Rowe is probably listening to a lot more like Sonic Youth than like No Effects and stuff like that. He's like writing Astoria. So yeah, that album will always. I don't know if it's my all-time favorite. Blue Skies, I always kind of feel like, is my quintessential Ataris record. I feel like most people, it's either Blue Skies or Astoria. Though I love Welcome the Night. Really, I love all Ataris records. Really, none that I don't like. But Welcome the Night, I know I've said it before. I mean, it's such an underrated record. But I mean, I don't know. Blue Skies might still win my vote. But then at the same time, it's like, I think on a technicality, So Long Astoria probably is their best album. It's one of those things. I've said it with Against Me. Like, I love New Wave, but my favorite Against Me album is Reinventing Axl Rose. But I know in my heart of hearts, New Wave is the superior album. Like, sonically sounds better, the songwriting's better, musically is better. I just have my personal favorite. But I would say if you really got down to it and were dissecting the shit out of those albums, I would just think there'd be an argument that says New Wave is the more superior record. Same with the Ataris. Like, my favorite Ataris record versus what the absolute best one is, might differ. I feel that way with most bands. I mean, you gotta admit that with things, like sometimes the album you like, is because that's the album you got in on, but it doesn't make it their best one. You know what I mean? It doesn't always make it their best one. But I always like that argument too. It's fun to get into that stuff with people, including with bands who have a couple, because some bands, everyone kind of agrees on that one record, and it like that tends to be like the classic one. But I like it with bands who have a couple classic ones where it's like you'll get, I think I was talking on here not long ago, it was either here on the radio show, but like Less Than Jake's one of those where like, there's people who say Anthem is their best, there's people who say Losing Streak is their best, there's people who say Hello Rockview is their best. You don't get a lot, but I think there's even people who think Pez Chords are their best, which, I mean, production's fucking awful, but those songs are really good. So like ones like that. Jimmy Eat World's another one. Like, I love fighting with people how Clarity I love fighting, you guys. I just love fighting with people about how Clarity's better than Futures, and you're a fucking idiot if you don't agree. Futures is a great record. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying Clarity is a better record. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff. Probably shouldn't surprise you. I do a show where I just talk music for an hour, so I probably am the kind of person who would fight with you on what the best Jimmy Eat World record is. But hey, it's the important topics, it's the important stuff with me. And one more for you, one little piece of music news. I feel like everyone's been talking about this in November. The Justice Department investigating Live Nation and Ticketmaster. Even before them investigating them, I mean, just everything with. I mean, I feel like Taylor Swift and her fans and stuff seem to like open the floodgates. But I mean, they're such a shitty fucking company anyway that, I mean, if that's what it took, sure. But like, I mean, they were terrible long before that. But the U.S. Department of Justice announced that they're going to be launching an investigation into Live Nation, and it's focused on whether Live Nation Entertainment has abused its power over the multi-billion-dollar live music industry. I'll answer that for them. Yes, that's a big yes in all capitals with some exclamation points. I would definitely say they abused their power over the multi-billion-dollar live music industry. And as you may know or don't know, Live Nation and Ticketmaster merged in 2010, resulting in the creation of Live Nation Entertainment. And for the last decade plus, they've been fucking us over. And I mean, even longer before, but now they're fucking us over together. Before, they were kind of just screwing you over separately. Now they do it together. But I mean, it seems like a long time coming. I mean, again, like none of this is surprising. I mean, how long have people talked about? I mean, those convenience fees and just you have no clue what some of those fees are at all. Like they're not, like I get it. One or two, I don't want to pay any fees, but like, even if you're not so greedy, like just don't get so goddamn greedy with those. Like make up your bullshit fee, which no one should have to pay. But anyways, people will pay it because they want that ticket. But it's like, you get too greedy with that and then you get investigated. Like, you shouldn't, you really gotta cap your fees. You know what I mean? One or two, maybe you get away with, keep them cheap enough. Maybe people won't complain too much, but I mean, and on top of, I mean, besides the convenience fees, I mean, just the entire, like, I mean, with the scalpers and those things just selling out the way they have, people talking about how difficult it is to even buy a ticket through there. I mean, like insane things, like not only are you paying hundreds of dollars for a ticket, you're going through hurdles and hurdles to get them. I mean, it's like it makes zero sense, and you really are kind of screwed because, I mean, almost everything seems like you're buying a ticket through Live Nation. Like very few times, like even for like smaller venues and stuff. I mean, it's not even arenas. I mean, if you're getting into like theater territory, sometimes even a little smaller, I mean, that's Live Nation, And to be honest, I mean, they're the worst, but I don't know that any ticket company is all that great. I mean, most of them hit you with these insane fees, which, again, like, I get it. Do I want to pay any fees? No. Do I realize that there probably is a need for some fees? Yeah, probably. You don't want to admit that, but I'm sure some. Not in the whole Live Nation. Like, don't, trust me, I'm not sitting here, defending them, because that's not what I mean by that. But I mean, I'm sure, including like the smaller places, like, okay, like, maybe the $3 convenience fee that in some way that maybe that does help keep the lights on or something. And that's fine. I get that. But I mean, most ticketing companies, even the cool, quote unquote cool, like indie ones and stuff, still get you with these insane fees. And the one I bitch about a lot is, you see it a lot more now. I remember a few years ago, maybe I won't name names, I probably have thrown them under the bus before, but a venue in Buffalo for a very long time was charging for will call. Like, they're not sending you them. I'm showing up to will call, and really the box office, it's not even like will call separately. It's the box office where people who don't have tickets come buy them. And also, if you have tickets in will call, they'll grab those for you. And I'm just like, that fee's ridiculous. It's like, you're not mailing them to me. Somebody's already at the box office to sell tickets. I'm like, what the hell? And then it kept getting more expensive. But the crazy thing is, at this point, I don't think they're the only one. Back in like 10 years ago, they're the only one I'd ever heard of who did it. And it like pissed me off to no end. Maybe more than it should have. But like now they're far from the only one who does that. And like the other thing too is just, I always think of these fees and these different things. And like, I've talked to musicians about this, and not even in like a shitty way where like, oh, it's not going to us, but just like, you look at like what goes into going to a show, and like so much of the costs are you spend so much, but so little actually gets back to the artist. I mean, a percentage of that ticket does, and if you buy merch, but like, the exuberant parking that you have to pay outside of the venue, like, I mean, those convenience fees and stuff, like, I'm pretty sure those aren't going to the artist, you know? I mean, I don't know that it would make it any better, but even they're more transparent about where those, like, what does that fee mean? Like, if you're going to charge me $30 in fees, please break down, like, where each cent goes. Like, how are you justifying this in any way, shape, or form, you know? But I hope they take fucking Live Nation down. I hate Live Nation. It's one of those things where, and nobody likes them. It's universal. I don't know that anybody out there you'll find and go like, oh, I love Live Nation. It's just you got to go through them. They really do kind of have a monopoly in that way. I mean, what else really can you do? So I mean, I don't even hope it changes things with them. I hope it fucking takes them out. I mean, I don't know what it gets replaced with. I guess I don't know what that do, but I really don't give a shit. I hope that Live Nation owes a lot of money. Or there's some, though, I think they had a lawsuit, if I remember, a few years ago, because you got like vouchers or credit for things, like a couple dollars for like each. I'm pulling this out because it just like popped in my head, but I want to say like Live Nation maybe 5 years ago, maybe even longer at this point, because I remember you started getting back like a $2 credit for like this ticket, then a $2 credit for this ticket, this and that. Like, and it started adding up because I think I paid for a concert ticket or two with it. But yeah, I think they got hit with something there. I mean, I'm sure they have a lot of lawsuits, but I hope this one, I hope this shit goes through and the Justice Department like does something about Live Nation and Ticketmaster, because they're fucking awful. But yeah, with that is the November 2022 rundown of the Power Chord Hour podcast. Again, thank you so much for checking it out. Really appreciate it. Really fun month. And it really was the first one really back. I know we did 2 episodes in October. We were just kind of shaking off the rust and getting back into it. And this month we're back strong, and still can't believe I interviewed Greg Graffin. That was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, if you're listening to this before Friday night on the radio show, on December 2nd, I'll be playing all 80s music for 4 hours, 8 to midnight Eastern on 107.9 WRFA. You can stream it online at WRFALP.com. And what else? Follow us online at Power Chord Hour on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, if you would. We're on YouTube. If maybe you're listening to us there, shout out to you if you are. But if you're not, please go subscribe to our YouTube page. And if you are listening to us there, subscribe to our YouTube page, please. And yeah, video interviews not every week, but when we have them, there are video interviews on there, and tons and tons of even pre-podcast content, so worth going there. But the Power Chord Hour podcast, wherever you're listening to this, you can listen to it anywhere you listen to podcasts. Please rate, review, and subscribe. Really appreciate that. And hit me up, powerchordhour@gmail.com. If you want to talk music or whatever, that's where you can find me. And if you enjoy the show, you like to donate a couple bucks and help with server costs and all that good stuff. Or I said server costs. I really didn't mean that. Whatever hosting fees. Sir, I don't have a server for this, but hosting fees. It is not free to host this podcast on a Simplecast. So, those fees and all the other bullshit fees, like speaking of bullshit fees, we were just talking about Live Nation. I gotta cover those bullshit fees. So if you want to help me cover them, send me some, I got the donations in the link below for PayPal and Cash App. If you want to throw a couple bucks our way, I would definitely appreciate that. And I'll probably send you a thank you postcard or something. More than likely, I don't have anything like set in stone where like, oh, you send me this, I send you something. But I'm probably going to feel, I mean, anyone who sends me, who's donated, I tend to feel obligated and at least send you a thank you postcard or something, which I get pretty badass postcards. I don't lie. I go to thrift stores when I'm traveling, and I go wild in their postcard section. So I got some good ones. If you donate a couple bucks, I'm sending one your way. But tune back in next week. We'll have Chris Wren from Bridge 9 Records talking all about the record label, the record store, and a whole lot more. But until then, for the Power Chord Hour podcast, I'm Anthony Merchant. Thank you so much for listening.